What's up, guys? It's Techno Viking 23 coming to you today with a little bit of commentary about No Man's Sky. Now, earlier in the week, I had brought to you guys a little video talking about how No Man's Sky had been rumored to be delayed. Well, that rumor was recently confirmed by Hello Games, and the game is going to be pushed back to August 9th. So about another month and a half or so, we'll have to wait for No Man's Sky. Now, No Man's Sky has been in the news quite a bit the last couple of days after this announcement, more so for the fans' reaction to what has happened here. Now, I'll admit it has been kind of frustrating waiting for this game to come out, especially since Hello Games is usually so quiet and tight-lipped with news about the game, gameplay footage, etc. But I don't think they expected the backlash they got from pushing the game back. Now, the game was already pushed back almost 8 months to this point. It was supposed to release next week, actually. So to have them push it back again, I can understand the frustration from the fan base of the game. But at the same time, it's kind of crazy to see that fans of this game are actually sending the developers death threats and doing so on Twitter, by email, whatever means they're doing this by. But it kind of shows a broader problem that's starting to emerge in gaming, and I'm not sure if it's an issue that stems from society as a whole right now, but I think as our gaming population gets a little bit younger, the games these days are aimed at a little bit more of a broader, younger fan base. We're getting a lot of newer gamers coming in, and kind of the older, more mature generation of gamers is sort of being phased out as a lot of companies focus on marketing towards the more simple-minded, younger masses. And if you guys have been out in society recently, you probably know how a lot of kids don't really respect people anymore. You see it in schools, you see it when kids run around the stores going crazy and their parents have no control of them. There's just not a lot of respect these days. There's really not a lot of discipline, and you're starting to see that come into the gaming fan base. Anybody who's played Call of Duty and had dealt with the 12-year-olds on the other side of the mic just spewing mouth vomit and using racist words and other things, they don't even know what it means. They just think it sounds cool. That's really where part of this culture started, but now we're starting to get into a very entitled generation of gamers who just rage at the slightest thing when it comes to issues in gaming. Now, I'm not going to talk much because obviously, people have gotten on me in the past before for ranting about Destiny and always talking trash about Bungie and trying to point out all their flaws, but there's a bit of a difference in it. There's a difference between being critical of a game and taking a company that is trying to screw its gamers over to task versus just going completely nuts and sending people death threats and freaking out about it. As much as I dislike Bungie for what they've done with Destiny and its model and how their development process has been a complete sham and how they continue to milk mindless gamers off their very watered down game, I wouldn't send anybody their death threats. That's ridiculous. That's so immature. It's stupid. It makes you look like an idiot, and it just makes you look like an entitled moron. I mean, that's just silly. So to kind of see the backlash that Hello Games is already getting for No Man's Sky, I'm almost a bit concerned for when the game finally does come out, because this game has just got this massive hype train behind it. I'm not really quite sure where it came from. It's almost like a cult following. Now, this is a game a lot of us have been looking forward to for some time now. It seems like this game was teased years ago, and we're just kind of waiting for it to get here. Myself, I'm a little cautiously optimistic about No Man's Sky. It's a game I'm definitely going to pick up and play. I think it's got really good potential for Let's Plays, where everyone can kind of showcase their different adventures through the universe. But I've also got some concerns about the game. Just from seeing some of the initial gameplay and footage we've seen of it, I'm afraid the game could be incredibly boring after a couple of hours. If it turns out you're doing the same repetitive stuff on every planet, and as the developers have even said, not every planet is going to be full of life. You're going to come across a lot of desolate areas when you're exploring the universe. A lot of the teasers they've shown us, they've been showing off these really nice planets that are vibrant and bright and full of alien life to kind of entice people to be excited about the game. But they've also said not every planet is going to be like that. It's going to be very few planets you're going to land on where you're going to find all this plant life and animal life and vast, beautiful worlds. You're also going to run into your share of very desolate planets. And I can see if you get stuck on a couple of those in a row and you're just kind of going around doing the same resource collecting everywhere, it could get kind of boring very quickly. But if they do manage to pull this off, what they plan to do with the game, I think they're going to have a really good game on their hands, and I think you're going to see a lot of people doing Let's Plays and streaming No Man's Sky. I think it's going to be a great potential for a cinematic experience for people to watch. So, kind of a mixed bag there, and like I said, I'm a little bit concerned that for myself personally, that this game was just going to be very boring after a couple of hours. I'm not a huge fan of things that are just repetitive, playing over and over and over again. I like for there to be different things to do, a varied gaming experience. And the other thing too is this is not going to be a story or narrative driven game. There is going to be lore in the universe. You'll have NPCs you can interact with, but I'm one of those people who really loves the story driven narrative, like RPG type thing. One of the reasons I'm sort of excited for for Mass Effect Andromeda to finally get here, because it's been a while since I've been able to play a good single player narrative game. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of Warframe lately, and that is kind of repetitive and grindy. And I'm actually starting to get to the point where I'm getting a little burned out on Warframe, especially farming in the void, trying to get Prime stuff. So I know I can only play a certain type of game for so long, and with No Man's Sky, it's just kind of the worry of getting bored of the content, especially if it's it gets kind of bland early on in the game. Either way, though, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to follow the game as we go through the next couple of weeks here before its release, which will be August 9th in the US, and it's going to have a staggered release over on the other side of the pond there. So it'll be here sooner rather than later. I'm hoping they do give us another glimpse of the game at E3 or whatever they're going to do in the next coming weeks. I'd like to see some more polished gameplay footage before I ultimately make my decision on whether or not I'm going to get the game. Definitely still not going to pre-order. I know they're throwing a bunch of little pre-order bonuses out now, or you can get a better ship and some upgrades at the start, which I'm really not a huge fan of, but they're an indie dev and they probably want to try to make a little bit of extra money early on, so I guess you can't really blame them on that one. But I'm not a huge fan of pre-order bonuses, microtransactions, etc. Anyways, guys, I think I've rambled on long enough. Let me know what you guys think about the No Man's Sky delay. Let me know what you think about the death threats people are throwing out there. If you think the gaming generation as a whole is just becoming this